And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I looked at him, and I said, who the is Sadie?
She is a feminist. She is ratchet and ghetto. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Quisha King Show. I am your host, Quisha King Benton, and I came across this video on Matt Walsh's channel, and I wanted to talk about it because I've been seeing a lot of these viral videos of these women who are just bashing their husbands. On one side, we have these trad wives who are like, "Life is grand," husbands are great, and I mean, you know, I'm all for that. Some of it is a bit, over the top, but okay, whatever. I prefer that than, the feminist. But this woman in particular, for us to watch together, let's react to it. I think I'm going to have some strong opinions on this.
My husband decided to be spontaneous and take me to the movies last night. And when we went to dinner afterwards, I was talking about how much I really loved the movie. It was so good. I was so excited to talk about it. And he looks at me dead in my face and says, it was just a movie. And I immediately stopped talking. So the more I sat there and thought about it, I start crying. It gets really uncomfortable. And he tries to break the silence by continuing to talk. And I finally looked at him and I said, that really hurt my feelings. And he responded, it was just a movie. I said, I was really excited to talk about it. You took me to see this movie on a whim. I've never heard of it, didn't look it up beforehand, and I really loved it. You picked a great movie. And I was so excited. And now I don't want to talk at all. Because why would I want to talk after that? And he immediately stops. He's like, you're right, I'm sorry. And then he grabs my hands. He's like, I'm not even being sarcastic. You're right, I'm sorry. I love when you get excited. It's just annoying sometimes. I recognize that he is trying and he is learning how to communicate with me. It's not an overnight process, but it is very painful. He's still new to his healing journey, so I just have to keep remembering that.
Oh, so I've been married before. I am married again. And I've learned a lot that if I would have known then what I know now, I would have been a totally different woman all the way around, different wife, different mother, pre when God brought me out of this feminist ideology. This woman, if you listen to what she says she was so excited to talk about it with him. And then she says, I love the movie. So he says, it's just a movie. And then she says, and I thought about it for a while. That's where you went wrong. You allowed 3 words to completely ruin your entire night with your husband because you kept rerunning the tape over and over. And every time you reran the tape, it made you feel worse and worse. And then you started thinking about all this other stuff and you were piling it on with this other stuff. And it just became this big thing in your head that it never really should have ever been. And you start crying because it's just a movie. Maybe he didn't like the movie that much. He's like, it's just a movie. Maybe he didn't even like it that much. So maybe he thought it was going to be better than what it was. My point in saying that is, does he not get to have his reaction? I mean, where is his place in this marriage? Is it your marriage? Or does his existence, his feelings, his thoughts, maybe he couldn't wait to get up out of there. Maybe he couldn't wait to never talk about the movie. What about that? Maybe he just wanted to spend time with you and it really wasn't even about the movie. There are so many scenarios that it could have been, but 3 words you've allowed to totally wreck a whole night. But I started going down your page a little bit more, and it wasn't just the movie. You seem to be very self-focused and not focused on, you know, him.
Congress just reintroduced the SAVE Act, where in order to vote, your last name has to match your birth certificate. This causes a problem for women who are married, and it made me think about how I never got my name changed after I got married. The intention was to do so, but changing my last name would give me the same name as my sister-in-law and 200 other women in this country. And my last name is so unique that I am the only one that exists in the entire world. Like, it's dumb to change my last name, and I'm glad I never did.
You don't want to change your last name? Why are you getting married? This whole independent woman, see, marriage is not an independent relationship, it's an interdependent relationship. And y'all feminists, like, y'all don't understand the order and like how this marriage thing is supposed to work. Like marriage, it's it's not just two people coming together saying I do. Like it actually has a function of how it works. You're not doing like marriage right when you do that. It's not how it's supposed to go. This is why marriages be having all these problems because y'all want to. God has already defined marriage and you figure out the blueprint from what he says, and when you go outside of that you're not doing marriage anymore, you're doing something else. It's similar but it ain't marriage.
These videos reminded me that I am not my husband's emergency contact. And when I took him to the emergency room when he tore his Achilles, I was checking him in and they looked at me and they said, "Are you Sadie?" And I looked at her and she looked at me and I looked at her and I looked at him and I said, "Who the fuck is Sadie?" She was like, "Sadi." Oh, God, it was his Uncle Sadi. For a moment there, he was about to get cussed the fuck out in that emergency room, though. I'm not his emergency contact because I don't answer the phone.
She's ghetto. She is a feminist. She is ratchet and ghetto. Listen, another thing I wanted to say is that you're supposed to protect your family. You're supposed to protect your husband. You know, you might not be out there like, slinging guns and beating bears and protecting in that way, but you're supposed to protect your family with your mouth. You can protect your family by not speaking bad about them, especially to millions of people on the internet. You have children. You should never bash your husband, your children's father, anywhere, especially in places that they can see or hear it. Again, you're not doing marriage. I don't know what that is, but that's not marriage. That's not it. And I don't know you, and maybe you're a lovely person. Maybe this is just an internet shtick for you. If it's not, because it is influencing a lot of young women, I would say please stop because families need to be restored in America, not torn apart. And what you're doing would tear, would continue to tear families apart. So let's not do that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this crazy viral TikTok. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.